Sam Nunberg is a former aide of Donald Trump. He worked on the campaign. He's now not in Trump's good graces. Apparently Trump's not in his good graces either. But nonetheless, he's going to not testify with Robert Mueller, who's asking him to, but not asking him to as a courtesy, but legally asking him to. So I'm gonna give you the details on that in a second, but I wanna let you know, and I'm gonna show you the clips here. Today, he went on 3 different television programs. First, he went on MSNBC with Katie Turk, then he went on CNN with Gloria Borger, and then finally stayed on CNN with Jake Tapper. And he said some things that are very important and very interesting and very curious. So before we get into those clips though, let me give you context as to who he is and why he's speaking out now. Washington Post explains former Trump aide Sam Nunberg said Monday that he has been subpoenaed to appear in front of a federal grand jury investigating Russia's interference in the 2016 presidential election, but that he will refuse to go. I'm not sure that that's really an option. So let's continue. Among those the subpoena requests information about are departing White House Communications Director Hope Hicks, former White House strategist Steve K. Bannon. He mentions Bannon in one of the clips that you'll see in a second, which is very important. Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski, and advisor Roger Stone. Nunberg said he does not plan to comply with the subpoena, including either providing testimony or the documents. Again, it's not really optional. Once you get a subpoena, if you don't do as the subpoena tells you to, in the overwhelming majority of the cases, the judge will eventually find you in contempt and yes, put you in prison. Well, Nunberg says to the Washington Post, let him arrest me. Mr. Mueller should understand I am not going in on Friday. Well, likely the answer to that will be, ask and ye shall receive. So we'll see how long he continues this attitude from a jail cell. Maybe as early as Friday. The Russians and Trump, he says, did not collude. Putin is too smart to collude with Donald Trump. It's a curious statement. But as you're about to see, he then contradicts himself a little bit later. Nunberg says, I'm not spending 80 hours going over my emails with Roger Stone and Steve Bannon and producing them. Donald Trump won this election on his own. He campaigned his ass off, and there is nobody who hates him more than me. So obviously they're not in good terms, but he's saying that Trump did not collude with the Russians. At least that's what he was saying to the Washington Post. Changes his tune in a second, as you'll see. But why? Why would he say that they're not colluding and then not cooperate with Mueller? Because if he really thinks Donald Trump didn't collude with the Russians, why not just go into Mueller and tell him that? Especially if he has evidence showing that it didn't happen, because he claims it didn't happen. Well, it's probably because he doesn't want to turn those emails over, because those emails are not going to only incriminate Donald Trump. They might also incriminate Sam Nunberg. Now, they might not incriminate him about the Russian collusion. They might not incriminate him even legally, but he might have said some things in those emails that would incriminate him politically or societally. So he might not want those emails to go out under any circumstance. But there is a circumstance under which they will probably come out, which is a lengthy enough visit to prison. So we'll see if that happens on Friday. But for the moment being, interestingly, Nunberg decided that even though he's not going to talk to prosecutors and he's not going to comply with the law, he will talk to reporters on air. Great. Let's find out what he's got in store. Here's his first clip with Katie Turk.
Let's see what Mr. Mueller does.
Are you worried about getting arrested?
I think it would be funny if they arrested me.
If you're held in contempt of court, wouldn't you have higher legal bills?
It would be really funny if they wanted to arrest me, because I don't want to spend 80 hours going over emails I had with Steve Bannon and Roger Stone. Donald Trump being involved in conservative politics was not good for his business. By the way, I think my lawyer's going to dump me. What do I have to produce them all my communication?
Are you ready to go to jail?
It's ridiculous. I'm not going to go to jail.
Agree to disagree. Okay, we'll find out on Friday though. So he says my lawyers are going to dump me. There's a good chance that'll happen. Yes. Okay, this is not a well-advised interview to go out there and spill the beans, as he's about to, even more importantly in the next clip, while not cooperating with special prosecutors. He insists over and over that he's not going to jail and that it would be funny if they arrested him. Not sure that's the word I'd use. And he says, why do I have to turn over my emails? Because you have a subpoena saying turn over your emails. This is a criminal investigation. Just because they're embarrassing doesn't mean you have the right not to turn them over. But now, remember, he had said earlier to the Washington Post that he thinks Trump did not collude. But wait till you hear what he says next. Watch.
What you're doing is surprising, to say the least. But you sat there in that room being questioned by Mueller's investigators. I want to hear directly from you. Do you think that they have something on the president?
I think they may.
What?
I think that he may have done something during the election.
What? Well, then you do think he colluded. And you just said it on national television. Yeah, I think he might have done something during the election with the Russians. And you think that they're not going to enforce a subpoena on you to find out what you know about what he might have done during that campaign when you worked on the campaign? Is this guy high? Okay, which is what all of social media is asking today. This is an unbelievable interview. We'll compare it to some of the legendary Trump Aide interviews in a second, but okay, wait, he's not done though with the amazing revelations. Here's one more.
I spoke to Steve Bannon for the first time last week after I went in there, and I spoke to him, and Steve and I were discussing about how we both feel, Katie, like I'm telling you, that Trump may have very well done something during the election.
So now he says, not only do I think Trump did something during the election with the Russians, but so does Steve Bannon. Look, I don't know why they're all admitting this on national television, but I guess I'm thrilled about it. Wonderful, because now you're on the record. It's clear as day. Yes, now you're definitely going to need to talk to the special counsel, and you're going to need to tell them what you know about what Trump did during the campaign with the Russians and what Steve Bannon knows as well. That is amazing. Now, in the next interview on CNN, he went even further, but this is more, I think those two clips were the most important. This is more speculative. Let's watch.
Mueller thinks that Trump is a Manchurian candidate, and I will tell you I disagree with that.
Okay, he keeps going back and forth on whether he colluded with the Russians or not. In Trump's case, of course, it wouldn't be the Manchurian candidate, it'd be the Siberian candidate. Now that is what I have thought all along for reasons that are obvious and public, and I think there's a world of evidence out there. But what I think is not nearly as important, to say the least, as what Robert Mueller finds in the evidence and reveals, partly by talking to people like Sam Nunberg who were there. Okay, one more. This is his third show now, all today. Final clip for you guys.
I'm spending a lot of money on legal fees. A lot of other people are. And granted, Donald Trump caused this because he's an idiot, because he decided to give an interview to Lester Holt the day after he fired James Comey, and then he decided to have the Russians in the Oval Office.
Now, I don't know why Nunberg keeps saying he didn't collude, but right there now for the third time in interviews today, making a reference to how Trump seemed to be obstructing justice and colluding with the Russians. So that the first reference in that small clip there was, why did he admit on national TV to have fired James Comey because of the Russian investigation? Well, that's a great question. I'm not sure Sam Nunberg is the right guy to ask that question about why someone would admit things publicly that they shouldn't on national television, but it is a fair question and leads to the obvious conclusion that he's trying to cover something up. And he's saying, I've got all these legal bills because he was trying to cover up whatever he did. And then he says he then brought in the Russians to the Oval Office. Perhaps another sign of collusion. Now look, that's the weakest of the evidence, but that's Nunberg himself saying Trump did that, and which is causing all of these issues for me and causing the whole investigation in the first place. Can't wait to see what he says to Mueller eventually, either before or after prison. But this is now at least the second Trump aide to come forward and give an interview on national television that makes no sense in terms of how it affects them and the liability that they have and and exposing them to further investigations and subpoenas. Carter Page had done a similar interview where he admitted things that were so incredible that Chris Hayes at the end of the interview said, I don't know if you know what you're saying, but you should definitely get a lawyer. Okay, and maybe they're just emulating their former boss, Donald Trump, who also goes on national television and says things he shouldn't say. But there was a world of tweets about it. I only want to share one with you because I thought this one was the best. Danielle Kelly said after watching the first interview, Carter Page, nobody's better at going on national TV and incriminating themselves than I am. Sam Nunberg, hold my beer. Okay, fun for everybody, especially Robert Mueller. If you want to get the whole Young Turks show every single day, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And once you do, you'll be saying,
you know, I'm like a smart person.
Or you might say,
I think it's weird.
Or you might say,
oops.
No, that won't be that one. It won't be that one. It'll be great, trust me. tytnetwork.com/join.